Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are going to be drawing an angry turtle. That's right, an angry turtle. So here we go. So we're going to start as usual with our sketch layer, which is layer number 1. We're going to be using a soft brush, any color. I'm just going to use gray here, but you could do any color you want. Go over here, drop down, make it a little less opaque. And then we're going to start sketching out the actual shape of the turtle. So here we go here. We're going to do the eyes. Good shape of the eyes. Then we're going to give the shape of the mouth and the snout, the back of the head. And again, with the sketching, the most important thing to remember is you're being really loose with your hand. I'm going to do the back, going to do the shell, going to have one arm here, going to have him making a little angry fist. And again, just go over these lines, keep it really sketchy, do the nose, do the mouth because he's really angry. Keep moving your pen around to create lots of movement. Motion creates emotion. Not sure who said that, if it was in a movie or from someone real, who knows, but it's a good expression. All right, so now we've got the sketch down. We're going to go to layer 2, and we're going to go to black ink, black color on the color wheel. And then we're going to go to our technical pen, and we're going to start to do the eyes. Now, the cool thing about Procreate is when you make a circle, which was a terrible circle by me, you just hold the pen down against the actual surface for a minute, and it will straighten out the circle, as you see right there. So all you have to do is draw the circle, hold the actual point of the pen onto the pad, and it will make the circle a nice clean circle. So it's one of my favorite features because I'm terrible at drawing circles. And then we're going to go below the eyes like this, give a little bit of the bags below the turtle's eyes. He's angry, so we want the eyelids to be down like this, downward motion. And now we're going to go right into the eyes. So we're going to start with the pupil in here, and then we're going to work our way around to the iris. And again, this is where you can hold it down and it makes a nice circle, a nice even circle like that. And I want to do a couple rings here, so we're going to do another ring around the eye, make it a little more dynamic. And again, these lines inside the eye, as you notice, are thinner than the lines of the eyelid or the outside of the eye itself, and that gives it some nice diversity. So now we're going to make the snout coming down, and he is really, really not happy. So we're going to have the mouth here with the teeth. We're going to draw the back of the head, and then we're going to have his neck coming down after we do the bottom lip. There's his chin, and going to be coming down into his shell. Now we're going to go back up here into the mouth, and we're going to start doing the teeth. So I'm going to start doing very thinner lines, I should say, than the outside of the drawing, like I was saying earlier. Doesn't have to be perfect, just give nice little thin strokes that gives the impression of him gnashing his teeth together because he's not happy. Give some wrinkle lines outside of the mouth, give him a little snout in the front with the nostril that's on this side of his head. You can't see the other one because it's on the other side. And now we're going to go down to the body, and we're going to draw the collar of the shell, which comes around like this. And then we're going to draw the shell back. And again, I draw the line of the back, hold the point down on the actual surface of the pen to the point of the surface, and that will give a nice half circle in this case for the back. Again, to show this point, if I draw a circle like this and it's terrible, hold it down, and you can make it small, you can make it big. It's a really nice feature of Procreate. Now we're going to go to the turtle's stomach. Same thing. Go out to the side, hold it down, get a nice half circle, and we've got his shell. Now we're going to make a little hole on the shell for the turtle's arm, dangling off to the side. We're going to do some thinner lines for the turtle's stomach, and then we're going to make a little fist down here at the bottom, because again, he's what? He's angry. So maybe he's shaking his fist. We give the little motion lines on each side of the fist to show there's movement. So we've got our basic outline here, and now we're going to go back to the top by the eyes, and we're going to do some eyebrows. Things my characters always have is big, thick eyebrows for some reason. I don't know. I just think it really gives good emotion to the character, whether it's happy, sad, in this case, mad. So now we're going to go back over here to the color wheel. We're going to go to white, make the ink white, and we're going to go back into the eyebrows and go like that to give them a little highlight. We're going to go back and change it to black again, the ink. And then we're going to go to the first layer and we're going to go and erase our original sketch lines. So here we go. There we go. Now all the original lines are gone. Now we're going to go back to layer 2, which is our inking layer and our line drawing layer, and we're going to erase some lines in here that we want to get rid of. Now here with the eyes, the snout is coming between the eyes, so we want to get rid of the rest of the eyeball because the snout comes in between the eyes. So we're only going to see one side of that. So we get rid of that. We start looking around at the drawing. We get rid of a few lines here and there that we're looking at. Erase down here by the hand, over here on the other arm. Now we're going to go back to the ink and we're going to start adding in some lines. In this case, I'm going to go by the eye. I'm going to give a little bit of line shading right near the base of the eye. I'm going to do thinner lines around the eye because turtles are, all of them, you know, are all different kinds of ages, but I like to make turtles that are older and have the miles of life on them. So a lot of wrinkles here, thinner lines around the neck to indicate the wrinkles. In the back of his head, we got some coming out here. All right. Then we're going to give the turtle some gums in his mouth to really show how much he's putting his teeth together. We're going to give some little detail lines inside of the gums, just little light lines. And then we're going to keep moving around and add some dark and some shading with the ink in different little spots. Here I'm doing it around the base of his neck because there is some space between his actual skin and the shell of the turtle. Same thing we're going to do down here on his arm. Down here on the arm, we're going to start to color this in a solid black because, again, that's the inside part of the shell, and there's shading in there. Now we're just going to go around. I'm going to add some nice thin lines on the top of his eye. He's got some eyelid wrinkles going on. Again, this is a mature turtle we're looking at here. Go around the nose, give some shading there. Give some shading by the eyeball again. And then I'm just going to move around randomly like I'm doing now and just look for spots that you want to add a couple quick line strokes that indicate shading. And again, it's knowing where your light source is. The light's coming from above, so you want to do towards the bottom of the features. Right now I'm going to do at the bottom of the neck, coming up like this. And I'm well aware that when we do the color layer, we're going to be adding a lot more shading in terms of the color, but this is a nice contrast to add to your drawings when you have some line shading along with the other color shading that you're eventually going to do. So that's how that would look there. I'm going to go down to his arms, and again I'm going to add more wrinkles to him on his arms. Down there. Now I'm going to go over to his fist, give him some wrinkles here on his hands. Just a couple lines to indicate that. We're going to do some shading where the fist actually meets his fingers and thumbs because that it would be darker in there. Creates a good balance to the black and the white. And I'm going to add a little shading here on the side of the shell. And then I'm going to add the actual design of the shell on his back. And these are just a little thinner lines than the outside. And I just do a couple of these here. And we've got our shell. All right, so now we're going to go to the color layer. So we've got everything where we want on the drawing of the character. And now we're going to add a layer number 3. And this is going to be our color layer. So we're going to go into the color square. I said color wheel earlier, but color square. And in Procreate, you could actually move it around to different. You can have a color wheel. You can have palettes. You can have it any way you like it set up. I like it this way. We're going to go green. So here we go. And now we're going to go to our soft brush, which is under airbrushing, and it's a top soft one. And then we're going to go over here and make sure it's completely solid. Again, this button over here makes it translucent, 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 solid, so you can slide it up and down. So we're going to color the green of his skin. So we're going to move it around here. And at this point, when I do this, I'm not at all worried about staying within the lines because we'll clean that up later. So just give it a good smattering around. And then I'm going to go over here and drop the color down just a little bit because we're going to start to do our shading. So I'm going to have a little bit of shading below his eyebrows, as you can see coming in now. I'm going to have a little bit of shading in between his eyes and below his eyes where the wrinkles are. I'm going to have some shading on the back of his head, as you're going to see that to start to come in here. So the light source is coming from above and in front. So we're going to work his way down his neck. There we go. And then we're going to do on his snout, on his nose, just the bottom part of his nose like this by his nostril. And we're going to make it a little bit darker, just like that. Then we're going to go down to his hand, his fist hand down here, and we're going to just start to add in some darker shade below, in the middle of his hand, on the bottom part of his fingers and his fist. Then we're going to go over to the other arm, and we're going to do the same thing there on one side, keeping one side dark, the other side lighter. And now we're going to go even darker in the color, because whenever I do the shading, I like to have kind of 3 layers of it. So we're going to go to the back of his head, and we're going to just slightly push, not too hard, just to give it the impression that it's a little bit darker than the first part. And that really gives you some dynamic shade. And then we're going to go around his eyes a little bit again. We're going to go below his lip, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger, and we're going to go on the nose snout part again, and we're going to make it a little bit darker just along the snout right there. Then we're going to go down to his fist hand, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add little dark layers of the shade. Here we go on his arm. And now we're going to add the light source. Even though it's technically already lighter, the green is much lighter on one side than it is on the other, so you already get that impression. But I like to go back in, put it on full white, drop the little button down here to make it less, make it a little more translucent. We're going to bring this up in size a little bit with a soft brush, and we're going to start to do the light source hitting, and we're going to start on the nose. So the nose of the turtle goes like this. And again, we're just putting light pressure on this. And you can drop this button down over here to the left as much as you want, so you don't have to put less pressure if you don't want to. I just like the control of it, where I can feel what I'm doing. So it all depends on your personal preference. Then we're going to go to the eye up here, give a little light on there on one eye, then on the other. Then we're going to move on the outside of the eye and the top. So outside of the eye and the top like that. We're going to do a little bit on the back of the head, just a little bit right there where it's hitting. Then we're going to give a little reflection on the snout right here where the light's really hitting. There we go. And then we're going to go down to his hand, the fist. Add a little bit of light down there, and all I'm doing is just doing a little circular motion with the light. Same thing on the opposite arm. Then we're going to go to the lip, the bottom lip, and give a little light right there. All right, and then I'm going to come to the front of the snout and just give a little bit right there. So that gives the impression of the light hitting there on the front. Now we're going to add some pink, and we're going to do our gum line. So here's what we're going to do here. We're just going to go back in. Now, if I wanted to, with the gum line, I could erase the green in there and go to a 4th layer and just color that in and not worry about having to stay within the line. I normally do that. For this purpose, I'm just coloring in the same layer, but you don't have to do that. It's actually better that you don't, because you don't have to worry about staying within the lines. Now I'm going to do a little bit of shading. I'm going to drop the pink down, and I'm going to just add that into the gum line so it gives a little bit of the impression that there's depth to the gum. Now I'm going to go and do full white. I just slide the color wheel up there to the white, to the left-hand side to make it completely white, and I'm going to color his teeth in. So Just start moving around. And you can do, if you don't want to do white, you can do just a slight off-white. You can maybe do a really, really, really super, super light yellow. Whatever you want to do for the teeth. Depends on how bad you think the turtle's dental situation is. In this case, he goes every 6 months, so he's good. All right, so there we go there. Now I'm going to add a little bit of shade to the teeth, so I'm going to drop this down just a little bit darker. And we're going to go to where the teeth meet. And we're going to start to just give a little light impression of the shade working its way up. It gives a little bit of depth to the teeth. Same thing here. Just following over the drawn lines a little bit. You can do a little bit down by the gum line, like this. Just giving a little slight impressions of where the shade would be. And that's all you really need. Now we're going to go up to the eye, and we're going to go back to our white. And we're going to color in the eye. Should say we're going to color in both eyes, but we started with one, and now we're working our way over to the other one. So you're going to fill all this in. And then, when we're done coloring this, we are going to go and do some shade in the eye. So, we're going to go to blue. Bring the color wheel over here, drop it down to a shade. We're going to make it probably about that size. And then we're going to go along the bottom of the eyelid really lightly, like this, and it's going to create the illusion of a little bit of shade of the eyelid that's coming down there over the eyeball. We just want to do it really light. Now we're going to go to the actual color of the eyes. So we're going to go with a little, I guess, neon green almost, make them really bright. And then we're going to go to our soft brush. We're going to make it a little smaller, and here is going to be the inside of the eyeball. There we go. Now, we're going to add some shading to this color. So we're going to go to that neon green, and we're going to drop it down just a little bit. We're going to go back in, and on the bottom of the eye, we're going to do a little bit of dark. And it gives it some depth. And we're also going to go to the top of the eye, because where the gray shading is below the eyelid of the turtles on both sides, the gray shading below the eyelid, when it hits the green, it's not going to be gray. That wouldn't make any sense. So in the inside of the eye, we're putting a little bit of dark there and a little bit of dark there. So the eyelid, because it doesn't just stop at the outside of the iris, it continues, so you want to change that color to match. Now we're going to go to the actual outside of the iris, and we're going to make this, let's go kind of a greenish yellow. So we'll go with that. Now we're going to use our soft brush, and we're going to go on the outside of this. There we go there. And again, we've got to do the shading on top of the eyelids. We drop that down a little bit, and this is just a little section right here about the top of the iris, and there we go. Now we're going to change this to white, okay, because we're going to do the reflection of light in the eyes, which I think is one of the coolest things. You just do a little circle and another little circle, a big one and then a little smaller one, and that gives a nice impression of light. You can also do it on the outside of the iris, on the other side, and then you've got a nice little reflection there in the eyes. It gives it some good depth. Now we're going to get rid of all the green that we just colored in, so it's cleanup time. So we go to our eraser and we start working our way around the actual drawing. And this is one of my favorite parts because it starts to come together. It looks really, really nice. So just keep erasing and erasing and moving your way around. And then when we're done erasing this part, this layer number 3 with the colors, we're going to add another layer to do the next part of the turtle. We're going to go to layer number 4 to do the stomach, and then we're going to do layer number 5 to do the shell. And that way there's some nice separation where you can overlap with coloring and not worry about going over any of the other colors. That's the great thing about having layers when you use digital art, and in particular when you use Procreate. All right, so there we go. So now we're going to go to layer number 4. We add a layer. We move that layer below number 3. If I kept it above number 3, it would mesh into there. Number 3 would cover it. So number 4 goes down to the bottom. We are going to use a yellowish color. It's a little too dark, so I'm going to lighten it up a little bit and move it this way. We're going to go our soft brush, and we're going to do his stomach. So here we go. And we're just going to color this in. Just like that. Now again, we want to do the shading on the bottom, so we just slide this down. You don't have to slide it down too far to give the impression of shade. And again, I just press a little bit lighter in terms of pressure from pen to surface. Now we're going to go back in again. I'm going to go down a little darker, and we're going to create a darker shade below, and we just don't go all the way up to the top. You just go in the corner a little bit, and that gives a good enough impression. Now we're going to slide the color wheel up to all white, and we're going to have the light hitting his stomach. So we're going to go on the outside of his stomach, and we're creating that line there and there. And then we're going to create on his stomach just a couple little spots of light where the impression is that it's hitting. Now we're going to create a 5th layer. So we add layer number 5, slide that down below level number 4, and we are going to do a brown. So again, we're using the soft brush, and we're just going to start coloring in his shell. There we go. All right, so now we have the shell colored in. We're going to add some dynamics to the brown, so we need some shade. We're going to drop this down a little bit, and then we're going to move our way from the back of the bottom of the shell upward. And we release the pressure as we move the pen upward. Hold it down a little darker there, and we move our way up. I'm going to do the same thing along the collar of the turtle. As you can see, it's getting darker right around the collar. There we go. Now we're going to go back in, take the eraser, the erase button, and we are going to erase inside the little shell tiles on his back, because these are going to be different colors. So we're going to add another layer after this, and then we can just color them in and not have to worry about staying within the lines and not getting anything on the brown that we just put in there. So we're going to erase all inside here. And we're going to keep going. All right, we got one more down the bottom. All right, so now we're going to color in this. Actually, let me erase a little bit here on the outside first. There we go. All right, so now we're going to go to layer number 6, and these are going to be the tiles on the shell. We're going to go to a lighter brown. Still, we're using the same soft brush, and we're going to color these in. And there we go. Now we've got to add some shading to the tiles, so drop this down. Go to the bottom. Just work your way up again with the shade. You're just pressing nice and lightly. Now we're going to add some light, so we're going to take the color wheel all the way to the top. And we're just going to add a little bit of light on the top of the tiles to indicate where that's hitting. We're also going to go back to layer number 5, and we're going to add a little bit of light on the collar of the actual shell. So a little white line there coming across. A little bit on the front right there. And there we go. All right. Now this is where we're going to look over the drawing and see if we want to add anything else. And I want to add a little bit more light to the turtle's fist. I want to add a little bit more light hitting the outside of the fingers. See, I'm putting a line on the outside there, just that light line, as it gives it a little more definition to it. All right, so we look over the drawing, we like the color, we like the shading, we think the line work is good, and that's our drawing for the today. There's a very angry turtle. Look out for him. if you run into him. There he is. All right. If you guys like the video, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the little bell that'll give you reminders for when I'm going to do another drawing. Typically about 3 or 4 a week. I might do more than that, but that's what I'm thinking about right now. So anyway, there's the angry turtle.